Welcome back to the podcast In Search of Self-Mastery with Daria Gutiasco. This time, I am going to talk to you about how to confront the fear of failure, a problem that is paralyzing many men, and preventing them from taking action. The fear of failure is the perfect excuse to do nothing. But if you stay, I will show you how to develop the courage to take those risks you so desire and embrace failures as part of the journey towards the success you seek. So let's get to point number 1. The fear of failure is a poison that paralyzes not only men, but it definitely affects men significantly due to the fact that they cannot move forward, which keeps them trapped in the mediocrity they are caught up in. If you let that fear control you, you will never do anything meaningful in your life. So it's time to face it head on and transform it into a tool that works for your success. Let's go into a little more detail about why this is so relevant. 2001, the fear of failure is the trap that keeps you inactive. One of the great principles of modern psychology is to confront your fear of failure. And that is the first step to freeing yourself from the chains, or the things that hold you back or prevent you from acting. When you face that fear, you discover that it is not as powerful as you thought, and that in reality, things or situations do not become easier. Rather, you become stronger with more courage. The truth is that everyone is afraid of failure, so there's no need to deceive anyone. It's not that some people have it and others don't. Rather, the individuals, in this case, the men who do things despite their fear of failure, are the ones who dare to take risks. It is precisely by taking those risks that they find the greatest rewards they are seeking. That means that if you don't take the leap and do things, you will never know what you could have achieved if you had tried. And as I said, this is normal. It has happened to me, it has happened to everyone to let the fear of failure paralyze you, and in a way, it is like voluntarily accepting defeat before even trying. I don't know about you, but I hate losing. I don't like to lose. How about you? If you get stuck in fear, you'll never do anything worthwhile. And there is nothing more lamentable than a man who lives his life in fear of failing, because that means he never truly lived and never did what he wanted with his life. Point number 2. Failure is a teacher, not an enemy. One of the great obstacles that I have personally experienced and that I have seen in others I have helped is that they let fear dominate them, paralyze them, making them feel as if it were an enemy trying to stop them. But the truth is, failure is what allows you to learn and grow. Because every time you don't achieve something, every time you fall, like when you learn to walk or learn to ride a bike, it is a lesson that brings you closer to what you do want, in this case, your goal. The men who clearly understand this do not lack the fear of failure. Rather, they act despite the fear and doubts, because they know that failure is part of the process toward the achievements they are seeking. Every mistake teaches you something valuable that makes you stronger and wiser, but it is up to you whether you use it or let it use you. And if we look at it from a more philosophical and realistic perspective, fearing failure is avoiding the only thing that can truly teach you to be better. Just see it from this point of view. How many of you have a teacher, tutor, mentor, or coach who teaches you to be better? Someone, perhaps at some point you had it. Maybe you are lucky to have it, but the vast majority do not have it. For a long time, I was one of those people, until I finally identified that failure, fear, or my mistakes were the best ways to learn, because they provided me with immediate feedback on what worked and what didn't. So, as I began to learn this cycle, I started to develop a methodology in which I actively did or implemented things despite failing, despite there being failures. However, it is super important to start noticing where you are making mistakes. Why? Because you don't get everything wrong 100% of the time. You might be wrong 80%, 90% if you want, but there was a 10% or at least a minimal percentage where you did things right. So the point is to see what you did well. Even if it was 5%, even if it's the minimum 1%, it doesn't matter. It's about taking that and trying to improve the next 99% and removing and eliminating what didn't work for you. One could say that if you avoid failure, you are depriving yourself of the lessons that shape you as a man, that forge your character. Only those who dare to fail are the ones who eventually end up winning. Failure is the price that must be paid for success. So if you are not willing to pay it, then you remain mediocre, and that's it. Don't complain when you feel like going for success. 2001. You will know that there is no secret in that regard. You already know it, you just haven't acted on it, and fear continues to dominate you, which is why you don't take action. Point number 3. The courage to take risks defines true men. Why? The men who dare to take risks despite their fear, despite the possibility that things could go terribly wrong, are the ones who end up changing the world. Perhaps someone comes to mind who has these characteristics, and yes, each of them has been able to change the world, or have impacted, influenced, or persuaded it in some way. The greatest and most well-known examples are, for instance, Elon Musk, Ford, Jeff Bezos, among others. And each of them, and obviously others that we did not include in the list, have the courage to get things done. And mind you, that is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite the fear. Perhaps you saw the movie Troy, where Achilles tells a man, that is why you will not be remembered, because you do not have the courage to fight and take what you want. And since time immemorial, there is no glory in playing it safe. If you want to be great, you have to be willing to fix everything. And it is in those moments of greatest risk where true greatness is found. In other words, your true greatness, not what others define as greatness. It is where and when you realize all the greatness you have within, where you understand that you have great things to contribute and that you have always had what it takes to face these risks. But if you don't do it, it would mean staying in your comfort zone, avoiding these risks and 2021. And that means choosing a life of mediocrity and regret. Men who do not take risks leave no mark on the world. Is that what you want? Is that what you want for yourself, for your family, for the people who see you, admire you, or expect something from you? If that's not the case, then what are you doing here? Why are you listening to this message if it weren't for another reason? You know yourself that you have a lot of potential, but you are not using it or making the most of it. You know that if you hide from risk, you are hiding from your own potential. And in the end, let's say, at the end of your years, at the end of your life, the only thing you will feel is the regret of why you didn't do what you wanted, knowing that the only thing that held you back was fear. And well, as you may realize, the fear of failure is not an option. It is a necessity for any man who wants to achieve something meaningful. If you keep letting fear control you, you are choosing mediocrity and the comfort zone, obviously. But if you have the courage to take risks and accept failure as part of the process, then you are on the path to becoming a real man, a strong and successful man, an admirable man, someone whom people see and admire, and whom people aspire to be like one day. And you know it? The choice is yours. Either you remain trapped in fear, or you face it and achieve greatness. Once again, remember, you are always one decision away from changing your life. See you next time, 2009.